Hi everyone, it's Mandy. Thanks so much for joining me for another process video. The layout that I'm creating today is for the Cocoa Vanilla Studio design team, and I'm going to be using the beautiful Bohemian Dream collection, which is the latest collection from Cocoa Vanilla. And this week on the blog, the design team were asked to use either pink or blue as the dominant colour to use on their projects. And so I don't really have a preference between pink and blue. I like both. It just really depends on what mood I'm in or what photo I'm scrapbooking. But a few of the girls had already created some beautiful blue projects, and so I decided to go with pink as the dominant colour on my layout. And to start with, what I'm going to do is create a painted background, and I'm just using a dry brush to paint that on and just create a bit of a messy background with some Dylusions paint. And the colour that I used there is rose quartz. And as you can see, I'm going to then lay a cut file over the top of that painted background. And the cut file that I'm using is one by Paige Evans, and it's available from the Silhouette Design store if you're interested in finding that. Now, I do start backing my cut file now with some patterned papers, but I decide very soon that I actually want a brighter and bolder background behind that cut file. And so I do go back and put this background aside, and I'll use it on another layout, but I decided to redo it and use a brighter pink as the background. But for now, what I'm doing is just tracing one of the negative hearts from the cut file onto some of the 6x6 papers from the collection, so that then I can back some of those open hearts in the cut file. And these 6x6 paper pads are perfect for doing this sort of thing because the patterns are smaller, and so you can see more of the pattern showing through each of those spaces. And so I sort of get halfway through doing this and then decide, you know what, I think I really do want a brighter pink background. And so I stop doing what I'm doing and put that aside, and I redo my background. So you can see here that I'm doing that. And the colour that I'm using this time is I think it's the Peony Blush in the Dylusions paint. And I'm just doing the same thing again, just using a dry brush and just creating like a messy painted background. I didn't want it to be neat or anything like that. I just wanted to create a nice background that would show through that cut file. And I really like how the textured cardstock shows through. I think because I used a dry brush, you can really see the texture of the cardstock through the paint, which I really like the look of. And so then once I'd done that, I put it aside to dry, and I went back to backing my cut file. And so I've mostly used some 6x6 papers from the collection, but I also pulled out one of the cut apart sheets that also has some smaller patterns on it, and I used some of those as well to back some of the hearts. And as you can see, I'm just sort of randomly backing them. I didn't want to fill in all of them because I wanted to see the background showing through, but I did want some of those beautiful patterns behind the cut file as well. And I mainly use pink because that's what I decided to use on this layout, but I did feel like it needed some contrast, and so I did also use that. It's a very dark blue pattern that's also from one of the cut apart sheets. It almost looks black, but it just contrasts nicely with all those pinks and helps them to really pop, I think. Without that, I think it just would have looked just a bit wishy-washy with all the pink and nothing to contrast against those pinks. And so now I've pulled out the clear stamps from the collection, and as you can see, I just stamped in two of the open hearts so that will show through. Once I stick down the cut file, you'll see those showing through those hearts there. And I just used some liquid glue and added it to the back of the hearts that I had backed with patterned paper. I didn't worry too much about whether it was going to be stuck down you know, very flat against the page. I didn't mind if some of the hearts sort of lifted up a little bit because I think it creates some nice dimension anyway. So that was why I only added it to the back of the hearts that I had backed with patterned paper. And so now I've pulled out a couple more of the 6x6 papers from the collection, and I'm just using them to mat my photo. I just want to create some nice layers behind my photo, and then I will also add some foam tape as well behind the photo. I did consider adding some foam tape behind the cut file just to lift that up and give it some more dimension, but I felt like there was already a lot going on in the background, and I wanted to be able to lift the photo up off the background to separate it from that, to help it to stand out a little bit. So I thought I would rather stick the cut file straight to the background, flat, not raised up, and that I would raise the photo up instead, just so that that would then stand out from the background a little better. Okay, so now I've pulled out the stamp set again because I just wanted to add something else to those open hearts just to create some more interest. And I used the smaller heart and I stamped it using some black ink onto some white cardstock, and then I cut those hearts out, and I'm just adding them to 3 of those open hearts. And you'll notice that I have a lot of visual triangles going on in the background. So when I was backing those hearts, apart from that dark blue patterned paper, all of the other ones, there's 3 of each of those patterns, and that just creates some visual triangles to help the layout to look balanced and visually pleasing, and also to help to draw your eye around the page as well. So now I've pulled out some embellishments from the Bohemian Dream collection, and I'm going to create 3 points of interest on the layout, 3 clusters, which once again creates that visual triangle to help to draw your eye around the page and towards the photo. And so the first cluster that I'm creating is down there in the bottom left hand corner, and I've added one of the flare buttons from the collection and also a die cut. And then I'll create a second cluster on the bottom right hand corner of the photo, and the third cluster will be up in the top left hand corner. And I have popped that bird there, but I do end up moving that up to the top there, up to the top left hand corner. And I'll just mention that the photo that I'm scrapbooking today is of my youngest daughter Eleanor. She got for her birthday from her sister a baby doll, and in this photo she's feeding her doll her bottle, and I really wanted to document how nurturing she is and caring towards her baby doll. And I do want to add some journaling, but I couldn't find anywhere on the layout where it looked balanced, so I am going to add my journaling to the back of the layout. And I just want to talk about how caring and loving she is towards her doll, and I love seeing that because I guess she's the youngest sibling. She doesn't have anyone younger than her to care for, so it's nice to see how she takes care of her baby doll and how loving she is towards her. Okay, so for my title, I wanted to use one of those chipboard words. I first of all thought I might use the word lovely, but the size of it just didn't feel right to me. It just didn't, I'm not really sure why, it just didn't look right. And so I end up going with the word this, and I'm also going to add a little word sticker on top of that chipboard word to finish off the title, and I really like how that looks. So I'm going to stick down my photo now because I'm happy with how this is all coming together. And you can also see that I've stuck down that top left hand cluster and added a little word sticker up there as well. And once again, just adding some foam tape behind some of the embellishments, just to create some more dimension on the page, which I always love to do. I'm just popping the middle out of those middle pieces out of that chipboard word, and then I'm ready to stick that down. And then once I do that, I am just about done. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'll have some close-ups at the end here for you. And thank you so much for all your comments and your likes. And I will be back soon with another video, so I will see you then. Bye.